Welcome to a MyNote series video. In this video, we are going to learn how to factorize by taking out a common factor. So what is a factor? A factor is a number or algebraic expression that divides another number and leaves no remainder. So if you look at these three numbers, you have to think about 3 and which numbers will divide 3 without leaving a remainder. So the first one is 3 and the last one is 1. So 3 only has two numbers that will divide it and leave no factor. And when you have only two numbers, 1 and itself, being factors of a particular number, we call that number a prime number. If you look at 6, so 6 will divide 6 as well as 3 as well as 2 and 1. And if you look at 10, you'll have 10, you'll have 5, you'll have 2, and you'll have 1. So these are the factors that will divide 10 without leaving a remainder. So when you talk about a common factor, and specifically factorizing a common factor, it's a good idea to first check how many terms you have. Because when you take out a common factor, it will be common if it exists in all the terms. Between those terms, you have to check if you have a number that is common or a variable. And if there is something that is common, then you can take it out and make it your common factor. So looking at this first example, you have x squared plus 2x. So this means you have two terms because terms are separated by a plus or a minus. So in this example, you have two terms. So you have to check, do you have a number that is common between these two terms? Well, no. Do you have a variable that is common? Well, as you can see, you have x and you have x. So now you can take, well, this is another interesting way. You don't have to write this step. However, this is there to show you that when you have x squared, it means you have two x's. So you can take out the common factor, which is x, and you'll be left with x plus 2. So when you're taking out a common factor, it's important to make sure that when you multiply these two, they will give you what you originally had. So x times x will give you x squared, x times 2 will give you 2x. In the second example, you are given 9y cubed minus 12 plus 6z. So in terms of numbers, you do have numbers in all the variables, in all the terms rather, but you have different variables. So you have y and you have z. And in fact, for your middle term, which is minus 12, you do not have a variable. So if you think about this, so you have three terms. So if you think about this, 9 can be written as 3 times 3. 12 can be written as 3 multiplied by 4. And 6 can be written as 3 multiplied by 2. So what you can actually notice is that in all these three terms, you have something common, and that is 3. So that is a common factor. So you don't have to write that step, but it's there to show you that you have something common. So you take out 3 as a common factor. So you are left with the 3y cubed for the first term. You are left with 4 for the second term. And you are left with 2z for the last term. So that is how you take a common factor for this particular trinomial. Lastly, you have this polynomial 7z to the power 4 minus yz to the power 3 minus yz to the power 2. Now, if you look at all the three terms, you can see that you have z, and you have z. So z is common. But y is not common because it only exists for these two terms. So if you continue with this, you can expand. This step is not necessary but is here just for explanation purposes. So z to the power 4 means you are multiplying z by itself 4 times. And z to the power 3 means you're multiplying by itself 3 times. And z to power 2, 2 times. So you can see that at least on all the three terms we have 2 z's, or z to power 2. So what you can do is you can take z squared as a common factor. That will leave you with 7z squared minus yz minus y.